It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Welcome back to America Decides. That was one of the many debate one-liners from then-candidate Donald Trump in 2016, possibly more ironic then than he knows it would be now. You know, law, jail, all that sort of stuff. Of course, the former president maintains he's not going to be there tonight in Milwaukee, and he may not participate in any of the Republican debates. Jason Miller joins us now. He's a longtime Trump ally and currently serves as a senior advisor to the former president's 2024 re-election campaign. Jason, good to see you. I know it's loud there. I'll try to make my questions as loud and clear as possible so you can hear them. You know as well as anyone, Jason, that there is a certain fluidity in how President Trump deals with certain issues. So is it clear to you that he will not, under any condition, participate in any future RNC-sponsored debate, or just not this one?
Well, great question. The president did put out on True Social that he won't be participating in the debates, plural, and I would hold that True Social posting to be the case until he changes his mind, until he decides that he might want to jump back in. I don't want to go and get out ahead of the president, but for right now, he said he's not going to do them. And quite frankly, just according to the CBS polling that we saw, where he's up by 46 points in the primary, he's beating Joe Biden in the general election, according to premise data, where Ron DeSantis loses in the general election. I don't think President Trump needs to right now.
So, Jason, is polling metrics the only measure by which the former president will decide to participate in a future debate?
Yeah, another great question. Right now, President Trump wants to take the fight to Joe Biden. Americans all around the country are suffering, whether it be the high inflation, the rampant crime in our big cities, the poor southern border. They want someone to step in and actually take care of these problems right away. President Trump doesn't need 4 years or 8 years to figure out where the bathroom is. He can step in and address these issues right away. And so President Trump wants to talk about the issues, but look, you put him on stage with a bunch of folks who are at 0.5%, maybe 1%. I think Ada Hutchinson may even be in the negatives. I'm not sure how that's possible. But folks like that are just going to take pot shots. All you're going to hear tonight, Major, is basically a cheap copycat of President Trump's policies.
Chris LaCivita described tonight as an audition for the Trump cabinet. Are you serious about that?
There's a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek to it. There are actually some folks who are on stage this evening who I think have a lot of substance and have a very high deal of respect for. I think Vivek Ramaswamy, for example, has shown he's very dynamic on the campaign trail. I think he shows a lot of energy and enthusiasm. I think that's good for the Republican Party. Senator Tim Scott is someone who I've admired for quite a while. I think that's great. There's some other folks who are on the stage and maybe I don't have as much, I guess, admiration for when it comes to their abilities, in particular Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, who ever since he's gotten in the race, he's just dropped like a rock. It's not really a good look as far as where his polling numbers are. Every new reboot leads to another disaster. It's not a good look, but there is some good energy, folks on there. And I think President Trump will definitely look at some of the people and consider them to be a part of his team when he returns to the White House.
Jason, from where you're standing, Jeff Rowe was there just a moment ago, and I asked him about your campaign's assessment of DeSantis going through as many as 4 resets this summer. And he said, well, we have as many resets as they have indictments. How do you respond to that?
Well, our poll numbers keep going up, and Ron DeSantis' keep going down. Look, at this point, they might have 20 different reboots. I mean, every other day, I forget. I mean, Major, you might know this. Are we in a reboot number 4 for Ron DeSantis or reboot number 5? But every time they do it, here's the fundamental problem. They're still stuck with the same flawed candidate, attacking Republicans with this whole listless vessels thing. I mean, that's channeling Hillary Rodham Clinton. That's not a good look.
Do you think at any point in this campaign, Jason Miller, former President Trump's poll margins over DeSantis or anyone else will decline? Or do you think he's going to remain where he is right now, that this race is essentially frozen and therefore near over?
Polls are always going to have some aspect of fluidity. Fortunately for President Trump, his poll numbers have continued to shoot straight up. And I think voters realize when you talk about the witch hunt, you talk about the weaponized justice system, these politically motivated indictments that have come at him, President Trump's numbers keep going up, whether it's Alvin Bragg or Jack Smith or Fonnie Willis. There's the same result because I think a lot of people, Major, pretty smart. They can figure out, they see what's going on here. Why did Jack Smith and Biden sit on these things for 2.5 years and then now just go and start to file them just as we're approaching primary season? Voters are smart. They see exactly this is all politicized.
Jason, when I was in Iowa last week, several people who are very experienced in politics there said if Trump wins Iowa, the battle for the nomination is over. So put simply, will the former president win the Iowa caucuses?
I believe President Trump will win in Iowa, and I think he's going to have a very good showing. We've already collected well over 10,000 endorsement cards. We have a great database of people who've supported the president in 2016, 2020, not just from the caucus building activities, the caucus turnout activities, but also from rallies the president has done. Don't forget, President Trump has made well over 30 visits to the state after he became president of the United States, and going back to 2016, he's built a lot of supporters. I do think President Trump is going to win, and quite frankly, I think it's going to be tough for anybody to stop President Trump anywhere. And Major, the one thing I got to point out, we're not just talking about the primary. If you're a Republican, if you care about uniting the Republican Party to beat Joe Biden, look no further than the fact that Joe Biden is now up with a $25 million ad buy because he's panicked. His numbers with African Americans dropped through the floor. His numbers with Hispanic voters dropped through the floor. Joe Biden is in bad shape, even for the 4 hours a day that he's awake. It's not a good look.
All right, Jason Miller, we're not going to live that 4 hours awake line. Just hold on with that. The president's awake more than 4 hours a day. But Jason Miller, putting that aside, thanks for your time in Milwaukee.